Okay, I'm gonna try to do this once again. I don't know, YouTube is being what it is, so I'm gonna try again. Okay, is the audio all right now? I'll just let somebody let me know what the audio is because I'm gonna do a part two to this. Okay, well, as I was saying before in the previous stream, how the father is important because when you have a father in the home, again, he provides that emotional security for that girl so that she knows how to communicate with someone. And when she's sitting there talking, having a father there who she most looks like YouTube is at it again. I don't think they like this topic, but this is a topic that people really need to hear because I'm not talking bad about women. I'm talking about how to help women because they really do need a father in their life. They really do need a man because that father is somebody who helps that girl so that she isn't out here going on rampages and going out here busting out car windows or busting out people's apartment windows or keying cars or going out here and participating in these twerk videos or participating in all of this drama. When you have a father there, what he does again is provide that security for that girl so that when she knows she is loved by him and loved by God, she knows that there is always somebody there who will give her the attention she needs. And when she knows she can get attention from her father, she's not going to be out here looking for love from these dudes out here. No, when you have a girl who has a father, she's not out here seeking that attention because she's getting that attention from that man in her life. So you have a girl out here. So you have this girl out here, and she's getting that attention from that man, and because she's getting that attention from that man is giving her that foundation. And what happens is she's not out here looking for a boyfriend. And that was something I pointed out in Spellbound and in All About Nikki, that when you have a daughter who has that father in her life, she's not looking for a boyfriend because she's focusing on things like getting those grades. She's focused on doing well in school. She's focused on developing female life skills because she knows she doesn't have to compete with a man. No, she knows she can be compatible with a man. And because she knows she can be compatible with a man because she's had that father to model being a partner in a relationship and, with her mother and showing her that she is part of a team by being her father, she has this different perception of relationships. So she's not looking to compete with a guy because she's not in an environment where she's insecure, where she's got this mother who is a rival, where she's got this man who is a predator. She is in an environment where everybody is working with her and everybody is looking for her best interest. So when you have a girl who has a father in many cases, what happens is that girl starts feeling that love, and that love makes her feel secure. And because she knows she's loved, she can go out here and start putting in work on her role as a helpmeet and a support. And because her mother is secure, she can start teaching her daughter how to be compatible to a husband. Because when the mother is secure and her emotional needs are met by her husband, then she's not looking to compete with the daughter. And as she knows that she's going to age, she knows that the husband that she has is going to be there with her no matter what. So she knows that she's going to be taken care of by her husband. So she's not afraid of her daughter becoming a young woman. So because she knows her home is, excuse me, taken care of, she's not afraid of losing everything to a younger woman because she knows she has that home that's already taken care of. So when you have a woman in a home and she's got a father, and she's not really afraid and she's not really aggressive because she's not insecure, because that aggression comes from that fear of not getting their needs met, that fear of being insecure, and that fear that there won't be anybody there to secure meeting her needs. And because she's so afraid of not getting her needs met, what is happening is this is why she's a violent and aggressive woman. And this is why she is always afraid. And that fear, again, is the thing that leads to her being violent. And it also leads to her becoming her own worst enemy. Because the main reason why so many of these women are so aggressive is because, again, they know that they fear that they won't get their needs met. They fear because of all of the bad relationships they've had with their mother, the bad relationships they've had with these men that were in and out of her mother's life, the bad relationships they've had with boyfriends. They fear there won't be anybody there to be that leader. They'll fear that there won't be anybody there to be that protector. They fear that there won't be anybody there to be that provider. And they believe that they have to take on those roles, but God didn't mean for them to take on those roles. No, God meant for the man to take on those roles, and he meant for the woman to have faith in that man and trust in that man to be able to meet her needs, because this is the man that God made for her to be her head, be her steward, and look out for her best interests. And that's the thing that these aggressive women don't usually get is because when they're in that single mother home, they're sitting there terrified and anxious, and that fear is the main thing that has them so scared, and it's that fear that has them out here and so angry, because fear is the foundation of anger, and it's that anger that usually drives many of these girls. Because I went to school with a lot of these girls, and you could just see the scowls on their faces, and that's what they call the resting B word face, because these women are scared and they're angry. They figure they put this face on as a defense because they fear that they'll be hurt by somebody else. And because these women are emotional, they are always looking to hurt someone else because they don't trust anybody to help them. So they're looking for somebody to hurt because they don't trust anybody out here, and they see people as tools because they don't trust anyone, because they've been burnt so many times by so many predators. So they're always looking to try to find a way to get one over on someone before they get one over on them. So in many cases, that's where a lot of the some of the aggression comes from. They don't really trust anyone because they see people as these tools, and they figure they want to get over on that guy before they get over on them, because in their home they had to deal with this abuse from this mother, they had to deal with this abuse from this boyfriend and this series of men, and they had to deal with this abuse from these boyfriends, and they never experienced what real love is. They never really experienced God's love, nor did they really experience the love of a man. So you hear a lot of women out there and they talk about they're looking for a man, but they've never really experienced a man. And this is something, when I hear many of these aggressive and violent women, they talk about how they're looking for a man. They don't really know what to look for in a man because they've never seen actual manhood modeled for them. And this is a point that I made in Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. And this is one of the big problems that I'm going to leave a link to that book in the chat. But you see, a lot of these women have never experienced a man who, a man out here who has shown them God's love and shown them how a man is supposed to be. This is something a lot of women have never experienced because they've never experienced that kind of love. What happens is they never get to that point of emotional security. Now, in two of my stories, I wrote about a woman experiencing that kind of love. The first story where I wrote that type of love, where a woman got to that point, was The Temptation of John Haynes, where Eastine saw John Haynes' example, and in the climax, she saw John Haynes show her that godly love. And because John Haynes showed her that godly love and showed her a model of a man, what happened was your Eastine started to get emotionally secure. And that's something that I wanted to show in that novel because link to that in the chat. But I wanted to show that in the novel because a lot of women have never experienced that. They don't know what love comes from a man, where a man just loves you just for you. A man cares about you just for you and gives you that sense of security, that feeling of security, that feeling of safety, that feeling of I'm going to be okay. And when you get that, when a woman gets that feeling of security, that's the thing that when they get it, they don't want to ever let it go. Because when a woman gets that, she knows that she's going to be all right no matter what happens. And this man is always going to be there. But we're not really showing, a lot of girls, they never get to see this because we have not really taught them about godly love. We have not really taught them, about womanhood and love from a man. And they've never really experienced love for a man. Now, the second book where I wrote about that kind of love was Spinsterella. And in Spinsterella, I showed that love in the start of the second act of the novel. Now, in the relationship between Matilda and the Quiet Man, after New Year's Eve, Matilda experiences that feeling of love, safety, and security after the Quiet Man spends the night with her at her house at New Year's Eve. And she gets that feeling of security. And because she feels that security, she takes the goth makeup off her face and shows him her true face. Now, that was meant to symbolize that feeling of safety and security and the trust that was building between them. And after she shows him her real face, her father asks to meet with the Quiet Man downstairs and have breakfast with him. And Matilda, she's scared that if he meets the father, that something bad is going to happen. But because the Quiet Man shows her how much of a man he is and how much he loves her, they are able to go have that breakfast with the father. And he shows her that she can face her fears regarding things and that he loves the real her. And that's something that I wanted to show because a lot of women out there, they don't really understand what emotional security is all about. And emotional security is something most women this is the thing that they want more than anything. A lot of people think women want cars and clothes and jewelry. No, what women want is that emotional security, that feeling of safety, and that feeling of security, knowing that if they get with this man, they're going to be all right. They know that this man loves them for who they are, and that this man accepts them for who they are, and that this man respects them for who they are. This is the thing that your woman wants overall. But a lot of women, because they buy into a lot of things as related to your feminism, they wind up believing that they need all this material stuff, but the emotional stuff is the thing that they want first. So they really want that emotional stuff, and that emotional stuff is the thing that they really are looking for. And when they can't get the emotional stuff, that's why a lot of women, once they get the materials things, the resources, that's why they want to go out here and file for all these divorces, because they're not getting their emotional needs met. And that's why you'll have a lot of these women, 80% of them filing for divorce these days, because they're looking for that emotional security, but they can never get that emotional security. And because they can't get that emotional security, they keep going from monkey branching from man to man looking for it, but they never get it because they are so insecure they can't trust any man. And because they can't trust any man, this is what leads to them putting up these emotional walls. And then when they put up the emotional walls, what happens is these women wind up in a situation where they are simmering and boiling in anger, and then they're winding up in this frustration because they don't know how to get what they want, and they don't know how to get what they want because they don't know how to communicate what they want, and because they don't know how to communicate what they want, this is why you have so many women who are just unsatisfied in these relationships. And this is why so many of them become so aggressive and are simmering and boiling in anger. And then eventually they wind up exploding in these rages. And that's why we see all of this violence going on. And this violence is going on because, again, they have this really messed up idea about relationships. They have this whole idea about life. And again, they see everything as a competition. And because they see everything as a competition, they never really get to be taken care of or be able to have that relationship with a man the way they're supposed to. And again, that foundation comes from that fear they learn at an early age. And because your girls learn fear at an early age, what happens is this is why they're so violent and so aggressive, because they're scared. And when people are afraid, they become angry. And when angry women are out here, they act on their impulses and they wind up doing not only harm to people, to other people, but they also do harm to themselves. And the greatest harm that they do when they're out here is they wind up doing things like participating in these divorces, and they participate in things like creating single mother families, and they also participate in things like parental alienation. And that parental alienation of the father is all again done because she's scared that she can't get her needs met by the man. So she wants to try to, what she tries to do is try to, one, do things herself, and then she tries to destroy the man. And those are two things that wind up doing damage to the woman, because all of that energy that she takes to give into that anger to try to break that man and break his family, and she's just hurting herself and she's preventing her family from being a functional family. But that's all, again, coming from that insecurity that she has. And because she has all of this insecurity, she wants to hurt people, because when it comes down to these violent and aggressive women, they primarily, the main thing that they want to do is hurt somebody because they feel hurt and they get joy when they're hurting someone. So when you have your women out here, they want to hurt the guys. And the other way they want to hurt the guy outside of parental alienation, where they're sitting there ripping this guy apart in the family courts and all of these other environments, or destroying his property, is by turning his children against him. So a lot of times the woman, because she's angry and hurting and can't get her needs met, she speaks all of this negativity against the father. And when she speaks all this negativity against the father, that is to demonize the kids against their father and to make it where they don't see him as an ally out to help them, but as another enemy that they're looking, that then needs to be hurt. And also, when you have your woman out here and she's also messing up the children, she's again producing this soft, emasculated beta male who is looking to submit to women. And she makes her son into this soft male, thinking that if she makes him into this type of man, he will be good for her, but he's not good for anyone else, because he doesn't have any sort of male life skills, any sort of male survival skills, any sort of leadership skills. In many cases, he's just another submissive, weak male. And because he's a submissive, weak male who's looking to please his mother and not looking to lead a woman, he's of no earthly use to anybody in God's natural order, and he's not ready to do any work in God's natural order. And most women who have these beta males, they become deeply frustrated because this man is not looking to take a lead. He's not looking to be a head of household, and he's not looking to set an order or a tone. Instead, what he's looking to be is a man who follows a woman, and no woman will respect a man who is a follower because she's supposed to be in the follower role. So this is one of the things that will go out here and mess these kids up, is that when you have the boy who's this beta male, he's not equipped for manhood. And when you have the daughter out here, she's so violent and aggressive that she cannot be prepared for womanhood, and she cannot trust a man. And because she can't trust a man, she can't build a relationship with any man out here because she's always second guessing him. She's always doubting him. She's always thinking that he doesn't know what he's doing. And if you don't have a woman who has faith in her man, you cannot build a healthy relationship between her and a husband, because if she doesn't have that relationship with a father that teaches her how to trust, then she cannot trust any other man out here. And this is, again, why you have all of these guys out here. They just are out here and they're filled with rage, and you have these women who are out here filled with rage, and the rage that they have is a major problem, because when you have women out here who are raging, what happens is they wind up trying to destroy people. They wind up doing things like alienating the father of their children. They wind up looking to destroy their families' households, and they looking out here to destroy their children. And that's all that happens when you have a very angry, violent, and aggressive woman, because she's not really thinking about things, because she does not believe she will get her emotional needs met. And a lot of times when she's emotional and she doesn't believe she can get what she wants to destroy other people. So that's another motivator for many of your women out here who participate in a lot of this violence we see in many of these videos we see online at these fast food restaurants, in the street where they're brawling outside of these stores out here. This is all, again, it's coming from that foundation of fear about not being able to get her needs met. And that's the reason why they're acting out like that. And the other reason is because we have these beta male enablers who see these women like their mothers. And because they see these women like their mothers, they don't see a woman as a partner. And that's another big problem with these violent and aggressive women, is you have these beta male enablers who will give this woman whatever she wants. And that creates a lot of that entitled mindset in many of these women. So a lot of these guys out here, they go out here and they want to give this woman what she wants because they hear these stories about mama didn't have this, and this man is no good, this man is garbage. And then they want to be able to give this woman what they didn't give their mother, what their mothers didn't get. And they wind up spoiling a lot of these women, and they wind up creating these monsters that we see today. Again, these aggressive, hostile, a lot of them are spoiled. A lot of them have been spoiled by these beta male enablers, and some of them have been spoiled because these simps out here will just give them everything and not demand anything as related to a standard for conduct, a standard for behavior, a standard for the way they will behave in a relationship. And because he has no standards whatsoever, what will happen is this woman thinks that she is owed everything when she is supposed to earn things. And in a relationship where you have a man as a leader and a woman as a helpmeet, she is to show you what she's going to bring to the table. And a lot of these guys, they don't look for things as related to the table because they're thinking that they're supposed to provide financially, but you're supposed to be looking for things as related to values and character. And that's why a father is important, because the father is the one who provides the foundation for their values. The father provides the value for their character. The father provides the a foundation for how she is to see a model for a man. And the father provides all of these things. And because there is no father in many of these homes these days, due to the 50 years of feminism and the welfare state we have had, this is again why your women are out here acting the way they are. Now, if you take a critical examination of many of these women who are acting crazy, and you take a look at the feminists who created many of these philosophies, you're going to see that a lot of those feminists came from these fatherless homes, like Gloria Steinem, who came from a fatherless home. And many of these people, many of these feminists came from homes where there was a lot of sexual abuse, a lot of sexual violence, just like the homes that many of these aggressive and violent women are coming from these single mother homes. If you just look in the background of the feminists, you will see a direct connection between them and the behaviors that you see right now. And that's one of the things people don't want to talk about, but it's something I talked about in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. I talk about that because when it comes down to many women out there, they don't see how them following this feminist model, it's leading to them becoming these violent, aggressive women because they just don't know how to communicate with a man. They don't know how to have a relationship with a man. They don't know how to deal with a man because they've never seen a healthy woman have a relationship with a man. Because when you see a healthy woman having a healthy relationship with a man, you see this woman who is emotionally secure. You see this woman who feels loved. And you see this woman who, because she knows that she is getting her emotional and economic needs met by this man, she doesn't have to worry about anything as related to her space being invaded, and she doesn't have to worry about competing with another man, with another woman. She knows that her place is safe, so now she can start working on teaching and preparing her daughter. And that's the thing that most mothers who are secure, they focus on, because they want their daughters to have success because they have achieved success. So because they have their success, they're not looking to compete in their older age. They're looking to build up their daughters. And that's why a lot of daughters with healthy fathers, they're not having a lot of the problems that you see a lot of today's women are having, because when you have that woman who, again, who's insecure, she's just so filled with all of this rage and this anger, and that anger, again, coming from fear. She does not trust any man out here to meet any of her needs. She doesn't know how to look for a man. She doesn't know how to look for a relationship, because the only models she's seen are in these Madison Avenue and Hollywood movies, which are primarily scripted entertainment. And they don't see a healthy man out here, and they don't see a healthy relationship. And that's again another one of the big problems. Now, the other thing that men need to understand about these aggressive and violent women is that the solution for dealing with a lot of these aggressive and violent women, it's a lot of times beyond your control. So a lot of guys out here, they're sitting there, well, what do I do about these aggressive and violent women? The only thing you can do is walk away from them, because their problems are far beyond your ability to deal with. Because a lot of guys out there, they don't really know how to deal with all of these issues that these women have. I mean, you're not a licensed psychotherapist. You're not a mental health counselor. You came into the relationship thinking that you were going to get with a woman who would be a girlfriend and possibly your wife. So there's not much most guys can do with these violent and aggressive women except walk away from them, because this woman, she really does need some sort of mental health counseling. she needs psychotherapy, and she needs help that is beyond your capacity. And what's the really saddest part about a lot of these aggressive women is that a lot of them don't believe that they need mental health counseling. A lot of them believe that they're perfectly fine because in the single mother household or the divorced household they came from, this is the norm for them. And a lot of them are in denial about what about the issues that they're having and how these issues are impeding their growth. So a lot of these women, they're not dealing with these issues, and that's why their paradigm for relationships always winds up in failure. And the reason why it winds up in failure is because many of them are still trying to follow the model that their single mothers and in some cases baby daddies and divorced fathers had, not understanding that the model that they were following is fundamentally flawed and guaranteed to fail because the model that they were following is not about building a loving relationship. It is about building competition, and it is about being so aggressive that all you want to do is fight, and fighting all the time is not something any husband wants to do. A husband wants a partner. He does not want somebody he needs to be beating on and threatening. And in this society that's gynocentric, again, if he does these things, he will be arrested for domestic violence. So a lot of guys, they have no incentive to get involved with these women who have been raised in this dysfunctional way, because these women, again, are enabled not only by these beta males in society, they're also enabled by these beta males in the criminal justice system, which give them passes for all of their irresponsible, reckless, and egregious behaviors. And this is something a father would not do, because a father, he loves his daughter. And because he loves his daughter, he is going to provide discipline. And when there is a father in the home, he's going to provide that discipline because he knows his daughter has to go out into the world and be a wife to another man. Moreover, you're going to have the mother who is going to be providing discipline to the daughter so that she understands that there is a way for her to go out here and behave as a woman, and that when she sees another woman giving her a check, and that woman being her mother, that mother is going to let her know that if you act out of line, there is going to be somebody who is the same gender as you is going to hold you accountable. But that's not done, because when you have women who are insecure, they start creating covert contracts with each other, and those covert contracts are all about them being able to get passes for their bad behavior so that they can get a pass for their own bad behavior. So when you have your women out here and there's no father there, there's no man there, and no male authority there to give them that structure and that order, what happens is you have a lot of women who are out of order, out of control. And this is why you have these violent and aggressive women, because there's nobody there to establish, again, that foundation of emotional security or that foundation of structure and standards, and to demand that they behave in a way where they will be held accountable. Because when you have responsible men, they're going to sit there and tell the woman that if you want to get certain things, you have to meet certain standards, because that's what fathers do in the home. They let the daughter know that if she wants to be able to get certain things like a stereo or a cell phone, she has to meet certain standards. She has to behave in a certain way, and she has to meet certain work standards, because the father is letting her know that you have to do certain things in order to earn things. And that's the standards that the father establishes. But when you have beta male enablers, what they do is they give the woman anything she wants, because they think that the only way they can get attention from women is by giving them what they want. But when you have a father in place, women don't get what they want by just for the sake of attention. They have to show, they have to meet standards. And because we don't have any fathers to lay standards in many of these homes, this is again why you have these insecure women, and they're looking to get their needs met by participating in all of these irresponsible, reckless and egregious behaviors, and them thinking that aggression is a way to get more of what they want because they're not taught effective communication skills. And again, this all starts in their early age, and that's the whole thing. They're taught early as little girls that they're not that the way they get attention is by acting out, by acting crazy, because they see their mom acting crazy. And nobody holds women accountable, but women can be held accountable. And the big problem is you have the beta male community out here. They don't want to hold women accountable because again, they're raised in fear, and they fear that if they say no to a woman, what will happen is they won't be able to get her attention or an opportunity at sexual access. And that's not true at all. In fact, most women, they really want you to say no to them because that saying no, again, that creates more emotional security for them because when you say no to a woman, it makes her feel like, oh, there's somebody there who's going to set a boundary for me. There's somebody there who's going to hold me accountable. And there's somebody there who's going to hold me to a standard. But because we've had 50 years of feminism, we've had all of these beta males out here. And these beta males, they just don't know how to say no because they see every woman just like their mother. And you're not supposed to see the woman you're supposed to marry or date like your mother. When you look at a girlfriend, she is not your mother. And I talked about this in the man crisis. And she's not your mom. She's not looking for you to be a mom. She's looking for you to be a leader. She's looking for you to be a head of household. She's looking for you to be someone who will provide her with not only financial security, but she's looking for you to provide her with that emotional security. And the whole way you get that security from her, how she gets that security is when you stand up to her, because when you stand up to her, she knows you're going to stand for her. And that's the main thing. She wants you to say no to her because when you say no, guess what? She knows that when you stand up to her, she's going to have somebody who is going to stand by her. And when you're standing by her, you're going to set that boundary that lets her know these are the lines that are going to be established for this relationship. These are the standards that are going to be set for this relationship. And this is the way things are going to go in this relationship. So you don't have to be the aggressor. I will be the one who initiates contact. I will be the one who initiates things. And I will be the one who provides for your security and your safety. And when you have a guy who does that, that's what makes many of the women out here, that's what makes them not feel like they have to be so violent and aggressive, because they know that their needs are going to be taken care of by that man in the same way their father would take care of their needs. So that's the thing that a lot of people don't really look at when they look at all of these videos of these women acting out and acting crazy. They usually look at those videos of women being abusive and violent, and they react to the symptoms of the problem, and they want to speak out about how bad the women are. But when I take a critical examination of these women, I see the big problem with them being that they were raised in a dysfunctional fashion, the same way a lot of these boys in single mother households were raised in a dysfunctional fashion. And because these boys were raised without a father, they're acting in this dysfunctional and codependent way. And the same type of dysfunction and codependency is happening to your girls because they're raised in this home where they're not given that foundation where they know that they are safe and secure from predators. They know that the father will protect them. They know the father will provide for them, and the father will give them love. And because they don't know where anything is, and their mother doesn't know where anything is, the mother and the daughter start trying to fight each other. And the mother is primarily wanting to fight the daughter because she fears that as she gets older, what's going to happen is she won't get her needs met because her daughter is younger and more attractive. And that's why you have so many of these older women who are upset these days, because they know that they have gotten older. They're in their 30s, their 40s. They can no longer get the attention of men. They don't have a husband, and they know that it's going to be a lot harder for them. So when they see younger women coming along, they see them as threats. And that's not what happens in a healthy society. When a healthy society, when you have a woman who is married and her husband is taking care of her, she's not worried about younger women, because she's already, again, I've said it like 3 or 4 times here, taken care of. And when she knows she's taken care of, she can then teach that other woman how to find her own husband from her own generation, because she knows that her husband has a retirement, her husband is making good money, and her husband is going to be there for her, and she knows she's okay. So many of today's women, they're promiscuous and hypergamous because of this insecurity. And again, when there's no father there, that's why the women are looking for love from all these other men, because they can't find love from their fathers. And if they had that father to give them that love, they would not be out here chasing all of these monkey branching, going out here looking for different men, looking for different relationships, looking to achieve all of these different romances. The thing is that they never find any fulfillment, because they don't have a spiritual fulfillment from God, and they don't have a spiritual fulfillment from their fathers. And because they don't have that spiritual fulfillment, what happens is they start looking for fulfillment through these finances. They start looking for fulfillment through different relationships, and they wind up very unsatisfied about everything in their life. And I talked about this in the Man Crisis in depth. I talked about how a lot of these hypergamous women, they go out here and they have multiple relationships with multiple men, and they wind up miserable because what they're looking for emotionally and spiritually, they can't get, because they are believing Madison Avenue and Hollywood's ideas that, oh, I'm going to get this man who's rich and he's going to make me happy. But that man never makes them happy, because that happiness comes from within, and it comes from who they are. And they're not happy with who they are because they never learned how to love who they are, because their mothers didn't really love them, their fathers didn't really love them, and they didn't provide them with an environment where they could feel that love. So they're looking for this love, but they don't know how to get that love. And they look to overcompensate for that love with material things, but those material things never give them any sort of spiritual satisfaction. And that's why many of their relationships just fall apart over and over again, similar to what happened with your Halle Berry and why she can't seem to keep a husband and can't seem to build a family. These women, they keep looking for this love, but that love, again, started with that father and that mother. And because they didn't get it from that father and that mother, they can't get it from other people, because they don't see that model for love in their early age, so they can't get it in their later age. So they keep looking for these guys who provide this. They give them what they physically want, but they can't get what they emotionally want. So when I look at, again, these super violent, super aggressive women, I have to shake my head at a lot of them, but I understand where a lot of those women are coming from, because I understand that in a lot of cases, they came from these homes where all they experienced was abuse, where they experienced a lot of violence. And because they experienced violence and abuse, they think that this is normal, and they think that this is the way of life. And because they think that this is how you're supposed to have a relationship, they go out here and they look to hurt other people because they've been hurt, and they believe hurting people is what you're supposed to do in a healthy relationship. So these people, they have never really experienced healthy relationships. They've never really experienced healthy people. And when they ever experience healthy people, they say that they're weird, they say that they're strange, they say that something's wrong with them, but there's nothing wrong with those people. What's wrong is that this person has never experienced a man, they've never experienced a woman, they've never experienced real people, and their world is nothing but dysfunction. And because all they've lived is dysfunction, all they know is chaos because nobody taught them any sort of order early on. And because nobody taught them any sort of order, this is why they are out here and they are so violent and aggressive. And again, the only solution you have as a man is to leave those types of women alone because their problems are far beyond anything you can do for them. Because in order for them to get help, they have to acknowledge that their lives are not working. They have to acknowledge that they have a problem in their life, and they have to acknowledge that the paradigm for life that they're participating in just does not work. So it's all on that woman to take that ownership of her life, and she has to go after acknowledging this problem is then go out here and seek out that mental health counseling with a psychotherapist or a psychologist and deal with all of those emotional traumas, because if she does not work on those emotional traumas, she's going to stay in that paradigm where her life is going to be in this vicious cycle where she's going to have the same failed relationships over and over again. And she's going to have the same problems over and over again because the main problem with all of her relationships start with her, and they start primarily with the fear she has as related to those relationships failing. So the big problem with her are with her, and there's nothing any man can do to fix those problems. It's not your job to fix those problems. And if you're in a relationship with a woman who is aggressive or violent, or you get involved with that type of woman, again, you have to cut her off because the thing that keeps her going is that attention she's getting. The thing that keeps her going is the drama she continues to escalate. And like throwing gasoline on fire, the more you pay attention to her, the more power you give her. But the way you stop a woman like this toxic female who is always aggressive and violent, is you have to cut her out of your life and you have to cut off all contact, because the less attention you give her, you stop rewarding her for her behavior. And when you stop rewarding her for her behavior, then she has to correct her behavior and start participating in behavior that will allow her to understand this is how you get your needs met. So when you have a woman out here who is aggressive and violent, the way you deal with her is, again, to cut that contact off, because when you cut that contact off, she has to learn how to communicate in a different fashion. Because one of the big problems, again, is the beta male. Whenever he hears a woman acting crazy and loud, he's thinking about his mother and he thinks he has to run to meet her needs. But that's not the way it works when you are in a relationship with another woman who is not your mother. When you're dealing with a woman who is not your mother, you are to let her know that, look, if you want to work with me, you've got to communicate in a certain way. You've got to communicate with me in a way that shows me, okay, what do you want? And you have to be very clear about what you want. And these emotional tirades are not going to get rewarded with attention. These emotional tirades are not going to get rewarded with anybody coming to get you. What these emotional tirades need to be dealt with is, if she's going to act out, let law enforcement deal with her, let whatever consequences fall on her. And that's how she learns to stop being violent and aggressive, because if she sees that being violent and aggressive does not get her needs met, she's going to have to come and approach in another fashion. And every time you cut off contact, it teaches girls that, okay, I have to find another way to communicate with people, and I have to find a way that communicates with people that allows me to get my needs met. So that's something a lot of guys out here they need to do because again, the more attention you give her, the more you reward her. Thank you, Amizi, keeping it real for the super chat. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to donate to the super chat, you may do so as well. And if you want to donate to the Cash App, you can donate to the Cash App as well. That helps me pay for the internet and pay for book covers. And again, when you cut off their attention, that's what the woman wants. She believes that if she acts a certain way, this will get me attention. Moreover, this will get me the response I want. So if you keep reacting to her, she's getting the reward she wants. But if you don't pay attention to her, she learns that being violent and aggressive does not get her what she wants. So that's one of the things you have to do when you're dealing with a violent or aggressive woman. Excuse me, sinuses. But the other thing you have to do is cut off all contact because a lot of times these relationships are so toxic that there's not much you can do with this type of person because this person, again, they really need mental health counseling. They need psychotherapy and they need anger management. They have to work out these issues because in a lot of cases, the things that they're dealing with are far beyond any man's ability to deal with. So what a man needs to do, again, is she needs to go work on this stuff before she can get involved with anybody. And she needs to learn how to work out these things. That's why I believe, just like we have men's groups to deal with men's issues, we need women's groups to deal with women's issues. And in the men's groups, you have the men working on all of their issues as related to the issues they've had growing up. And a lot of these guys learning, like in Dr. Robert Glover's psychotherapy, No More Mr. Nice Guy groups, learning about the paradigms that don't work. The women have to learn about the paradigms that don't work. And that's where I believe a lot of women need to go. They need to go and get that type of stuff. And the thing is that a lot of the women, they don't want to deal with this stuff because they're feeling so much emotional pain regarding things like the hatred and jealousy that their mothers had for them, the sexual abuse they've had with these men in their mother's life, the failed and broken promises of numerous Pookies and Ray Rays or assorted bikers or assorted guy baby daddies. And the emotional pain is so devastating. A lot of women don't want to deal with it, so they'd rather be sitting there with that anger, but that anger is not a good thing to have because that anger is the thing that it just sits there and it practically destroys this woman's life. And this anger, it sits there for years. You're simmering and boiling in this anger. And what's really sad is these violent, aggressive women don't see how they're missing out on the very best in life. I mean, God has an abundant life for everybody out here who believes in him and trusts in him. And your violent and aggressive woman, she misses out on all of that because she's so busy being angry about past hurts and she's so busy creating present hurts that she misses out on all of the joy of life. So she misses out on everything that is wonderful about life because her whole perception of life is rooted in all of this frustration and anger that she grew up in. And because she didn't grow up in a loving environment to experience love, this woman never really understands, that she's not living her best life. She's just living a very sad life. And while she says she's living her best life, she's practically living an existence. And that existence isn't anywhere near the abundant life that the Most High Living God has for her. I mean, the Most High Living God has so much more for many of these women out here, but because they're so angry and so busy hurting, they're not able to even experience any of that or any of that joy because they radiate so much negative energy that they wind up repelling the very people who could help them or the very people who would help them have a much better life. So they miss out on everything that is wonderful because they are so busy being angry and looking to hurt others, that they wind up hurting their very chances at having the very best in life for themselves. So when I look at a lot of these, these hyper violent, aggressive girls out here, I really, again, it makes me sad because they don't see how all they are is miserable, and all they're looking for is company to make them miserable. And people who are positive, they have no interest in joining them in their misery, and they have no interest in being in the company of a miserable person. So they're sitting there thinking that this way is getting them the very best in life. They're living their best life, and they're not getting. Thank you, BS is real, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to donate to the super chat, you may do so. But they're missing out on the very best out here, and they're in denial about their so-called best life because the very best in life is waiting for them. All they have to do is acknowledge their problems and then trust in the living God to help them deliver them from their problems, and they can start living that abundant life. T-Mac, I had to break the live stream into two parts because I was having an audio problem on the live stream. So I had to, the first part, I had to do a part two because the first part had an audio issue. So I had to take this live and put it into two parts because there was a lot of ground I wanted to cover. So the first part is, I'm gonna leave a link to the first part. But I had an audio issue, so I had to do a second part. So this live stream is broken in half because of issues I had with the audio. I had to end it and had to restart it. And I'm this close to getting ready to wrap things up because I think I've made all of the points I wanted to make about these abusive, violent, and aggressive women that a lot of us see on social media acting crazy and acting erratic. And while a lot of people make videos about these types of women and, talking about how bad they are, we're not looking at all of the roots of their problems. And I wanted to go and look at the roots of their problems. I just didn't want to sit there and talk about, oh, how bad these women are, how no good these women are, how rotten they are. I wanted to give people some insight into why they're behaving this way so that some foundations to why they're behaving that way. And when you get some insight into why they're behaving this way, then you can know what to do. And again, a lot of these behaviors, they're far beyond any man's ability to deal with because it's all about her. And it's about her acknowledging her problems, acknowledging her issues, and working on those issues because she will not get to that point of emotional security, and she will not get to that point where she can feel that sense of love and security unless she really starts to put that work in. And this is a big problem that many of today's women have because they've bought into a lot of rhetoric, like from these feminists and these people out here who've told them, oh, you don't need a man. You can do things on your own. It's like, no, God gave you a man, and he gave you that man so that you could lean on him, and he could be the person who provides for not only your economic security and your physical security, but also your emotional security so that you're going to be safe, you're going to be secure, and you're going to be all right no matter what happens. God has you, and he gave you this man to have you. So that's what that's the crux of this whole live stream is, because I just don't want to see all these guys out here thinking, oh, that these women are aggressive and violent, and they're just thinking, oh, that there's a lot that goes on in these homes where these girls are raised. There's a lot of things that make these girls so angry, so aggressive, and it all again relates to fear about getting their needs met, because a lot of these girls are scared, and that's why they're acting out. and they're scared because they are afraid nobody's going to be there for them. So that was what I was going to talk. That's what I was talking about during this stream. I'm going to get ready to wrap it up because I've got some editing work to do, and I'm looking at Chris Brown's Omega Black. I'm also looking at some other work that another author asked me to take a look at. So I'm looking at a lot of different work out here, in addition to trying to get some of my own out here. And I, because I've got, a lot of books that I'm trying to get some sales on. So I really would appreciate if you guys would go over to Amazon and pick up John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose. I'm looking to get 10 sales this month on John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose. And ISIS, The Main Event came out this month, and I'm looking to get 10 sales on ISIS, The Main Event. So if you guys could head over to Amazon and pick these two books up, I really would appreciate it. And if you want to see some models for a healthy relationship or the starts of healthy relationships between fathers and daughters, you can pick up All About Nikki, The Fabulous First Season, and Spellbound. These books, I wrote them so that you could see a model of fatherhood. I also wrote Esteem, The Sands of Time, so you can see a healthy model of a father-daughter relationship. All of those books are available on Amazon.com. And I wrote all those books because before I wrote The Man Crisis, I really wanted to show girls, that how important a father is and how important a father is to a relationship and a girl's life overall. So I understood growing up in the South Bronx, seeing all of these violent, aggressive girls, why they were having these problems. And again, if there's no father to model a God-centered role of manhood, the girl never learns how to be that helpmeet and support because she's not secure about herself. She's not secure about getting her needs met. And she's not secure about how she's going to be able to survive. And she doesn't trust anybody to meet her survival. So these are all things people need to think about as related to things. Luciano, you don't have to worry about the super chats. You can just buy a book if you want to do that. That I really appreciate that. If you buy a book, that means a lot to me, especially with my fiction sales, because that's what I'm trying to get my fiction sales up on books like Esteem, The Sands of Time, and John Haynes and The Man with Nothing to Lose, ISIS, The Main Event. And in Esteem Got Us Up, I also explore the father-daughter thing, relationships too. So with the Esteem character, I do a lot of exploration into the issues as related to Black daughters and their father issues. So I may do another live stream about Esteem and, fathers, Black daughters and Black fathers in the future. So that may be coming soon. But I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream, and I hope you'll be there for next week's stream.